So someone asked me recently what I think about sprouting grains, sprouted grains, and eating it raw. There's a lot of hype around sprouting living food. It's a sprout, it's full of life. Here's the thing. Grains are not human food, okay? Grains are quite inedible in their raw natural state. It would be difficult for us to collect enough of them to make a meal. Certainly not very digestible, so we sprout them, right? That's why people sprout. That when you're sprouting the grain, you're turning the starch, some of it anyway, into sugar. Okay, that's some of what's going on when you're sprouting grains. You're making the grains more digestible. So here's the thing, you are essentially making the grains more like fruit. You're taking something that's not edible in its raw natural state and making it more towards fruit, which is edible in its raw natural state. You're making the starch turn to sugar, it becomes sweeter, it becomes more tender, easier to chew, easier to eat, easier to digest. Why not just eat the fruit to begin with? That's my opinion. Why not just eat the fruit to begin with? Why not? Why would eating grains be a better idea? It's a kind of substitute. And even when they're sprouted, they're not really that digestible, in my own experience anyway. Nutritionally, grains are inferior to fruit as well. They lack in certain nutrients. They tend to be a little bit on the acidic side. Yeah, it's just not ideal. The same is true with cooking. If you think about it, we're cooking food because it's not edible in its raw natural state, so we cook it to tenderize it, right? A raw potato is no good. A cooked potato is now suddenly soft. We can chew it, we can eat it. It's more digestible. We just took that piece of inedible food and processed it to make it look more like fruit, which is our natural food. Why can't we just eat the fruit to begin with? And of course, the truth is that we're not always able to find the fruit, maybe. And as a second best option, cooking some potatoes might be alright. Sprouting some grains, maybe, I don't know. I'd rather eat a cooked potato than a full meal of sprouted grains, to be honest. But that's a personal choice. My point here in this video is essentially, if you need to process something to make it sweeter, to make it more tender, to make it more edible, isn't it obvious that you're just trying to make it more like fruit? And the more it looks like fruit, the more edible it is. Well, why don't you just eat the fruit to begin with then? The fruit has the sugars, not the starch. More digestible, easier to absorb those sugars, and as opposed to having to digest all that starch. The fruit has all the vitamins and minerals, the grains do not. The fruit has omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids, amino acids, proteins in an easily absorbable form, almost pre-digested when fruit is truly ripe. And on the other hand, the grains and the potatoes, not so much. So why don't you just eat the fruit to begin with? That's my advice. What about sprouting grains? Well, if you want to sprout some grains, go ahead, but you're just trying to make a fruit. That's what you're doing. So you might as well just eat the fruit to begin with. It has all the stuff you need, and you don't have to process it in order to eat it.